Hi everyone, I'm Claire. Welcome to my channel. Future me here to give a quick overview of what you're going to see in this video. Alright, so it all started with me picking up The Villain Edit by Laurie Devore at the bookstore a few weeks ago. I've been wanting to read it ever since, and I figured I'm just going to start reading it and see how I can fit it into a video as I go. I didn't really think of anything, so I figured let's just go with some casual mood reading, and I'll pick up some other books along the way and just go with that. But then I thought I could somehow connect the books either by how the book looks, its physicality, its number of pages or number of chapters. I could connect the books by publisher or general themes or content or plot. I figured if I do that, I can still be mood reading and picking up books that I want to read, but I could also be connecting them in a more interesting way, generating a conversation that talks about all of the books as a whole and how they're connected and what that says about the books, comparing their similarities and their differences. So I'll be starting with The Villain Edit, and each following book will be connected to the last book using one of the ideas that I just mentioned. All right, let's get started. So I'm about 90 pages into this, having a great time. We have met Jacqueline Mathis, who is our main character romance novelist. She is a contestant on a Bachelor-adjacent dating show called The One, where she is pining for the main man, if you will, named Marcus, who we've also met. We've kind of been taken through the basic Bachelor type moments. Getting out of the limo, meeting everyone, drama ensues, people fighting for dates, people getting eliminated. And throughout, we're kind of already seeing this villain edit being woven and being kind of formed from what these producers want to see out of the characters and out of Jacqueline specifically. What's really fun about this is at the end of every chapter, there is kind of like a multimedia type thing going on where there is something put at the end of each chapter that is not just the regular text. It'll be Instagram DMs from the present day or a play-by-play of the trailer for the season. And these are kind of put in as things that are happening kind of more present day or in the future in general, while the rest of the chapters and the rest of the text within the chapters are happening during the show. So that's kind of a nice touch, and I've been really looking forward to each of these additional tidbits at the end of each chapter. We're seeing these typical human interactions like, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. And you're getting this third person coming in, kind of breaking that boundary of conversation and saying, oh yeah, could you do that again? Can you do that again, but can you say this word instead? It makes you think, okay, when you watch these kind of shows, why aren't we thinking, or maybe some people are, but why aren't we watching thinking, what are these producers saying behind the scenes? Like, I'm getting intense secondhand embarrassment at some points. But anyway, I'm going to get back to this and I'll see you in the next clip. All right, so I finished The Villain Edit, and I think to continue from where I left off in the last clip, we continue to follow Jacqueline Mathis, who is the main character. We're also following, less directly, but we're following Henry, who is a producer on the show, and Marcus, who is the main contestant of this Bachelor-adjacent show. At the end, I'm probably giving it maybe a 3.75 or a 4. I like a lot about it. I like that it's to the point. I like the social commentary. I like the fact that it's about a villain edit specifically, which is really important to the story, and it's really important in general to reality television. We're seeing somebody being depicted as the villain. Normally there's a hero or the good guy. There's some people who are more NPC-like, as some people say, where they're not getting a lot of screen time, they must not be interesting enough, right? Those are the kinds of assumptions we're making as viewers. We're supposed to follow what the producers are telling us. We're absorbing content and we're making decisions based on what's fed to us, and this kind of challenges that narrative. It says, okay, but what if the villain is not a villain? What if the villain has X, Y, and Z problems in their life and they're just doing what they think is right? Or maybe X, Y, and Z is disliked by the editors or the producers, but is not a bad person in general overall. So I think it asks those questions pretty appropriately, and it builds on what I was talking about earlier as crafting this narrative of reality television, and let's just say broadly television and the internet, what is posted on the internet, is not what it seems. Going into another aspect of this book that I really liked that kind of builds off of that is the multimedia inserts into the story, such as interviews, Instagram DMs, text messages, scripts for the trailer and scripts for episodes of the show. When paired with how we're actually seeing the main character, you add those in, you get a more full picture of comparing the character as we as the readers know her, whether we like or dislike her, and we're comparing that to how the public is viewing her in post editing, right? So post editing, she's might be viewed as the complete villain, right? Now you're supposed to, as the reader, I'm guessing, read this and think, okay, what is my opinion of Jacqueline? Do I think she's as villainous as she's being, made out to be? Could she be a little bit of a villain and they're just exaggerating it? So I think there's this essence of make your own decision. And if you don't have enough information, don't make a decision at all. It exposes unnecessary and most of the time extremely scripted aspects of reality television and just social media and the internet, like I said, overall. We're getting these descriptions and these paragraphs of descriptions that are a little lackluster. So we're getting, we did this, and then we did this, and then we did this. And I think when you're given writing like that, and that's kind of the fluff, that's kind of the filler, it feels incomplete. What this is for most of the book is first person perspective. So I do this, I do that, I do this. Now, to be, in my opinion, a complete first person perspective, I'm expecting the main character or the person who's speaking in first person to speak of everything that's happening in the best way that they can based on context, determining whether it's important or not. And how it feels in this book is that there's a lot of description going on and background, events, parties, conversations, facial expressions, behaviors that are being summarized over to make the book either quicker or to get straight to the dialogue or get straight to the point. And I feel like we're missing a lot with that. But I think the overall messages in this and the overall themes and societal implications are pretty big. And I had a lot of fun, on the ride going along with this main character and seeing what was going to happen. It definitely is kind of a, look into human nature and television. All right, so following, the general overview of this video with mood reading, but trying to connect books, I had a few ideas. I was thinking, okay, I could go through books and I could find books that are 322 pages. But then I thought, you know what? Look at these colors. This is like hot pink, neon yellow. I have another book like this. Okay, so I don't know. What do you think? Are these colors close enough? I think we're getting vibrant from this. We're seeing some neon and some yellow and pink, whatever. I'm going with it. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm just gonna go for it. But following the theme of going for something that I actually want to read, mood reading, and adding some sort of connecting variable, I think I'm going to use color for this. I've been trying to find kind of the time to read it, and I think this is perfect because I'm mood reading, and it fits the colors well enough. But I'm really excited to get into this. I don't really have enough to say about it yet, but I'll see you in the next clip to talk about this. 140 pages later and a new haircut later, let's talk about Julie Chen is Dead. We've met Julie Chen and Chloe Van Hoosen, who are twin sisters that were separated in the adoption process when their parents died when they were young. Chloe was adopted by a wealthy white family and Julie was officially adopted by her aunt. Chloe, as a result of this fact, grew up with a lot of opportunities and privileges afforded to her. And that kind of led her to get into this influencer celebrity lifestyle that we learn that she has. Julie, on the other hand, works as a supermarket cashier, and she endured a lot of I would say emotional abuse and neglect as a child at the hand of her aunt, who kind of has a grudge against her because she did not like her sister, who was Julie and Chloe's mom. So we learn on the very first page of the book that Chloe is dead, and Julie is saying, "One thing is clear, I did not kill my sister." So we learn immediately, opening the book, that Chloe is going to die. By the time we get into the first chapter, she's not dead yet, but she's going to. So one day, Julie receives a phone call from Chloe, and it's pretty concerning. She says some things that make Julie want to go check on her, and she kind of sits with that for a few days thinking, okay, should I call for a wellness check? Should I go there myself? And she ends up going there herself, where she does in fact find Chloe dead, which I think this is part of the blurb. And she essentially decides, as the intro to the book suggests, and kind of the overall view of the book suggests, that she's going to take Chloe's life. She's going to take her identity, and she's going to become this influencer celebrity, essentially. So far in the book, we've got to the point where Julie has started going to these influencer meetups. She started meeting all these people who are important and fundamental to Chloe's lifestyle. She's trying to fit in, essentially. She has to make adaptations to her body, to how she behaves, and we're kind of being taken along on that journey with her. So far, this is really entertaining. I think it's starting to drag a little bit past the 100 to 140 mark. It's beginning to settle into this groove of Julie wakes up, she does influencer-y things, and then she kind of thinks about them and ponders them, gives a few witty comments about what she's doing, and then she goes to bed scared that night that Chloe is haunting her, essentially. So it's kind of this rinse and repeat thing going on, which is starting to drag a little bit, but overall the book is really entertaining so far. They're continuously mentioning, or she's getting these signals and these messages or clues about a yearly trip that they go on, this group of influencers that Chloe was really close to. So she keeps asking about it, and there are these really awkward moments where she's asking these influencers, or she's trying to prod a little bit to get information, and she's going out of her way to mention this yearly trip, and everyone is just, ignoring her and pushing her away and kind of avoiding the question, and it's very awkward and uncomfortable. I'm just really anxious to figure out what's going to happen on this trip, because I figure that's going to be the bulk of the book, and that's where we're going to see the climax, and something's going to happen with these influencers who are already starting to act a little funny. They kind of repeat everything that each other says. They're very Stepford-wivey. So I'm very interested to see where that goes. But so far, I'm having a good time, and I want to see what's going to happen next. All right, so I finished Julie Chen is Dead by Lian Jiang. I don't really know where to start with this. I think it would probably be best if I broke this into sections to discuss certain plot elements. I think if we start with plot, I can just generally get my biggest criticism of this book out of the way, which is that I think there's a pretty big lull in the middle of it. I think the pacing is a little bit off. I was having a great time in the first 100 pages and the last 100 pages. I think the middle 100 pages is where I was kind of thinking, where is this going? They're really drawing out the influencer stuff and the cringy, yet often sometimes hilarious behavior of Julie. It definitely made me think, when is this going to progress? It's kind of falling behind in pace. If we're talking solely about characters, I really loved reading from Julie's perspective. I really enjoyed her character in general. She's very morally ambiguous, hilarious. She has some very interesting thoughts on social media and how the world works. She's very funny. There are a lot of laugh out loud moments. In fact, some of my favorite parts of this book are in the middle, where Julie's kind of learning the ropes of the whole influencer lifestyle, and she's having these moments where she's either in the middle of a breakdown or she's faking a breakdown, and she starts recording herself for likes and for views and for comments. and she's really milking the situation to kind of encourage engagement, and she's thriving off of this praise. You can hear we're reading her inner monologues and her inner thoughts, and she's talking about how she's just in love with all of this attention, and it's hilarious to read. It's absolutely hilarious. I just think that the character development is a little drawn out, and that affects the pacing of the plot, and that affects the pacing of the book as a whole. I had a lot of fun with some of the reveals that were going on in the book. Some of them were expected, some of them not so much. In terms of whether or not I would recommend this book, for me, I think I'm gonna say it's a 3.75 star read. And I know that's what I gave the first book, but honestly, it's like it's the same thing. It's funny that I'm saying this as mood reading and I'm connecting them via random things. This reminded me a lot actually of a movie I saw last year, Blink Twice. I think there's a lot of similar elements, especially like the ending and how it all culminates, and a certain aspect of the culty behavior is very similar. Yeah, so I think the book was a lot of fun. I say that about 50% of the books that I read. It really shines a very apt light on the world of influencers, the way of speaking, and kind of train of thought that goes along with that, and the manufacturing of everyday life to meet a certain internet standard or to adhere to your own standard that you've set up on the internet as a sort of facade to cultivate likes and to cultivate engagement in life in general. And I think Julie was the perfect character to deliver these messages and these thoughts. Julie is not necessarily the character that you're supposed to love and think is above all of these things and just better than everyone else as a person. That is not the type of character that she's written out to be. So I really love that about it. All right, so sticking with the video's theme of making it up as I go, but still reading what I want to read, I was thinking maybe I could go for something with the same publisher, which is Atria Books. I don't know, I'm kind of leaning towards trying to find a book either on my TBR, my physical TBR, or in Libby. Trying to find a book that has something to do with vacation, because I'm wanting like an islandy kind of summer vacation-y vibe after reading that. I was really anticipating that vacation between the influencers, and now I kind of want to continue that with plot. Okay, I'll be back. I have had Every Time I Go on Vacation Someone Dies by Catherine Mack on audiobook for a while, and I've been wanting to read it, and I think this is a good chance. I don't really know a lot about it, but I know that the main element of the plot is that they're on vacation, obviously. Look at the title. I'm pretty sure this is a mystery, so that will also be a connecting element if I'm really sticking to having some major connecting element, which I'm really not. But I mean, I connected by color. So I'll be back once I get started. All right, so I'm about 40% through Every Time I Go on Vacation Someone Dies. We're following Eleanor, and she is a writer who has written this long-standing series of vacation murder mystery books, and she's on a book tour currently with her sister, who is her assistant, Connor, who is a real-life person and a character in her books, a few other authors, some friends, some enemies, just kind of this hodgepodge group of people who are invited on this book tour vacation in Italy. We've kind of learned Eleanor's relationship with Connor. We learned that he's kind of a con man, and she's kind of reluctantly in this author-character relationship with him. So she decides that, you know, while she's researching her next book here on this vacation or on this book tour, she's going to kill him off as a character. We're learning that someone in real life is also trying to kill off Connor. Kill off, not kill off, literally kill him. Somebody is trying to murder him. So he obviously is going to think that it's somebody, one of these people he's done business with in the past, one of these people that is, you know, on this book tour with him, because he pretty much has a negative relationship with everyone he meets. His ex-wife is also on this book tour. So Eleanor has been enlisted by him because she's a mystery writer, I guess, to help him figure out who's trying to kill him. We haven't really learned anything else besides that. We've just recently, at the 40% mark, been introduced to the idea that somebody is trying to kill him. We're at the point now where everyone's being kind of investigated. Eleanor's kind of looking at everyone differently to try and maybe assess who it is on this trip, who might be involved with wanting to kill him. I don't know, it's fine right now. I think if I were to say what I think I'm gonna rate it at this point, it's probably gonna be a 3. I'm having a fine time. I like the audiobook. I think it's read well, and there are moments where the dialogue's kind of funny. Eleanor's personal thoughts are funny. It's your classic fun, easygoing mystery. Think like Knives Out kind of thing, which I think it says on the book actually, and it's pretty close in terms of, oh, this is your, quirky, fun, lighthearted mystery. That's exactly the category that I would put it in. I think that's it for now. I will update you guys when I finish the book. All right, so I finished Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies by Katherine Mack, and I have to say it got a lot better for me. I think this is gonna be a 4-star read for me. I did not expect the reveals. I did not expect the ending. Despite all the self-referential and fourth wall break writing, I actually could not put it together. I had a lot of guesses about who the murderer would be or who the plot orchestrators would be, but I did not see the ending coming at all. Speaking of the writing, the chapters that are kind of thrown in that are, the narrator or our main character directly speaking to the reader, I had a lot of fun reading those. I'm sure there are books out there that are meta or self-referential in this way or have, a large number of fourth wall breaks, but I personally have not read one, so it was a new idea and a new style for me. What else could I say about it? I liked all of the characters. I thought they were unique enough for me to mentally separate everyone from each other. All of these people who are on this trip were chosen for very specific reasons, and it's a very, despite the fact that the narrator continuously mentions like Agatha Christie and Hercule Poirot, I think it's funny because that's kind of how it ends up being. It's a very typical Agatha Christie whodunit at the end where all the pieces are being, put inside the puzzle, and we're getting a very clear picture of everything that went down and how each clue fit into that puzzle to create the, big picture overall. I just really love a classic whodunit, despite the fact that it was a little slow to begin with and we weren't getting a lot from what was going on. I think a lot of that was kind of necessary to differentiate the characters, set up the scene of why X would want to kill Y, why Y would want to kill Z, that kind of connection and those, trains of connections and relationships. The only thing that really bugged me about this was related to the character development of the main character. The amount of times that she mentions Taylor Swift or Agatha Christie or Bridgerton, it's just too much. It's way too much, and I think it pulled me out of the story quite a few times. It made it a little more unbelievable, and maybe that was the point, but realistically, no one is going to be mentioning the same Taylor Swift song over and over and over and over again. It was super engaging, and I think the way that I can tell that is that I didn't want to continuously pause the audiobook to take a break. I just wanted to keep listening. I wanted to know what was going to happen. All right, so I think that about wraps up this video. That was the last book. So just a little recap. I read The Villain Edit by Laurie Devore, Julie Chen is Dead by Lian Zhang, and Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies by Katherine Mack. Clearly I was going for something very specific with this because despite the fact that these books are different in their own ways, and also despite the fact that I connected 2 of them by color, there are quite a bit of similarities. One of the biggest ones is the contemporary nature of these books, One is about reality television, one is about being an influencer, and the last is about the publishing industry and the entanglement of people in the modern publishing industry. Besides that, there's also this element of vacation kind of woven between all three of these. The first one is not necessarily a vacation, but taking off work or quitting your job, whatever it may be, to go on a reality television show, some would argue that is a vacation. In the second book, we're getting a literal vacation. They go from not being on vacation to being on vacation. And in the third book, they're on a book tour in Italy, which is essentially a vacation. Clearly, again, I was wanting something out of that, and maybe I need a vacation. Maybe that's where I'm going with this. I think they all reveal something important about the subject that they're depicting and describing. We go from pulling back the curtain on reality television and exposing the editing process of such shows. Same thing with the influencer lifestyle in Julie Chen is Dead, and how what people post is not necessarily the truth and is not necessarily real life. And in Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies, it's the reasoning behind why someone might write a book or why someone might produce art or work in general. It's not necessarily the case that they're doing it for money or because they want to do it. It could be that they're being forced to do it. So in their own ways, they're all uncovering and revealing the true reason behind certain activities and certain aspects of our contemporary modern world. I think I liked the last book the best because I really was just the most entertained by it. I think I couldn't get over the drag in the middle of Julie Chen is Dead, and with the villain edit, I couldn't get over the lackluster writing in the descriptive paragraphs in between the dialogue. But anyway, I think I'm gonna leave it here for now. I would love to hear your suggestions in the comments if you have any of your favorite vacation reads to recommend to me, or more books in these sort of categories that I've lined up, since I'm clearly in the mood for something very specific. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.